make money out of this, so we can keep the doors open, and I can live for another year probably. Is what I've calculated. So we'll just keep the doors open until we make this work. Well, thank you very much. It sounds like a really fun group that you've got there, and you can hear me okay. We're at the back.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. So I'm sitting in my office in Kyneton in central Victoria. I grew up on a dairy farm north of Bendigo, and I guess all this crazy business around helping young people on the farms and retiring farmers step back came from my experience as a young boy walking back from the dairy farm with Dad. And I said to him, I was about 8 years old, and I said, "Dad, when do I get the farm?" And he just laughed at me and said, "You're not getting it. We're selling up. I didn't get given a farm. You're not getting this farm. How else are we going to retire?" And so at age 8, I knew I'd never be a farmer. And I think that's the mentality that thousands, maybe millions of people across the world have, is that unless you inherit the farm, give up on that dream and do something else. And I think that's terrible. There was an article just yesterday from the ABC talking about farmers stepping back from their family farm and corporates coming in buying, or the neighbours buying it, and there was no solutions, and it makes me angry because there are plenty of solutions for anyone who wants to stay involved in their farm and hand their farm on to kids that aren't their own, or for next generation farmers who want to own a farm. There is plenty of ways for you to get yourself onto a farm. It just requires a bit of hustle and hard work and dedication. So today, Matthew's asked that I just give you a bit of an outline of what we're doing, throw lots of ideas, and I'll just talk for 20 minutes, but I'm keen to have a discussion because I think it's more fun to hear from you, and hopefully I just get you to think maybe a little bit differently about your own situation or people you know, on how you could step back from your farm, or how you might scale up by partnering with someone, or I'm not sure there are any aspiring farmers there, or has everyone there got a farm? Is that the situation?
Everyone's on a farm already.
Great.
Yeah. But there's a few. Succession has already come up. It's definitely a topic for a lot of people.
Great. Yeah. It is a hot topic, isn't it? And you hear even some stats that only 30% of farmers have thought about succession or talked about it with their family. So something's going on. Now let me click some buttons. Let's see if this works. If I share screen. Can you see this?
Yep.
Let's go view. What about now?
Yeah.
And you can still see my buff head.
Yeah. It's just a little bit right in the top corner. We can.
Good.
But is that what we want to see?
Yeah. No, we don't want to see. You don't want to see me. I don't think so. This is perfect. So I'll just run through some ideas, and I think, talking to Matthew, this is the concept I want to unpack: is how you realise the long-term vision for your farm. So we always talk to farmers wanting to step back, and we say, let's get rid of any preconceived ideas you have. Just think about, and don't worry about how it can happen, but just think about what it is you want for your farm for the future, and just write that down. That's what I encourage you, is that we're not here to tell you what it is you want for your farm, or how your farm can be farmed into the future. In a way, we don't care. We just want to know that what you want for that farm and how you want to be involved in it ongoing. And there are so many ways to make it happen. There's lawyers and accountants and advisors everywhere who can help you realise the details. The issue is you knowing what you want. So just giving you some inspiration that there are plenty of pathways for you to step back from your farm, or realise the vision for your farm. So Cultivate Farms is the entity we set up probably 5 years ago. We've been trying to figure out what this is, and we realised that we are a matchmaking service, and we never set out to be the Tinder of farming. It was all just as that was sort of happening. But we realised that this is just about relationships. There are farmers out there who are aspiring farmers, want to own a farm. There are retiring farmers who don't have kids to hand the farm on to but don't want to leave. And there are people with money, local people and high net worth individuals all over the country who want to get into farming but don't know how to run a farm. So we've realised we can be the connector. We can just match people who get along, and they can work out the details once they've been matched up on how they can transition or whatever it is they want to do with that farm. So that was I think it was about 3 years ago. After a couple of years of doing this, we realised it can be as simple as that. This is just connecting people. And the issue in the ag industry is that or in the farming world, is people have a network probably just around their own farm, which isn't that extensive. But if we can promote it across the whole of Australia, you can easily find someone that you get along with and trust, and you're happy to wake up in the morning and know that you've partnered with. We show this diagram to inspire next-gen farmers that there is a pathway for you to own a farm, and it's long and windy, and you need to be persistent. But if you can find one person, you only need one person to back you, and that's either a retiring farmer or investor, and you could own a farm. So get out there and go on this journey of discovery and training, and get a job, and maybe do some contracting work, lease some land, and eventually that might all lead to someone wanting to co-own a farm with you or share their farm ownership with you. But keep on that pathway. It's possible. And I think what's lacking at the moment is young people don't know there is that hope of ownership. So they go off like I did and did something else with their life. And we're saying, no, it's possible. It's hard work and it's going to take a while and it requires a little bit of luck, but it's absolutely possible. So stick at it. And I guess this journey diagram can be the same. You could use the same way. I've been trying to figure out how to represent it for farmers looking to step back. There's a pathway for you realizing your vision, and it's working with somebody, employing somebody, and just figuring out if they're the right person, understanding what sort of person you are and what you want to share with your farm and what you don't want to share, and how you want the farm to be managed and how you don't want it to be managed. It's this journey of understanding what it is you want as a farmer and as a person with your farm before you might be even willing to think about sharing ownership. So the lessons we've learned, I've just tried to nail these down for this presentation, is around probably aspiring farmers and retiring farmers. One is aspiring farmers are out there thinking that they need to save the money themselves to buy their farm. And we did a back of the envelope calculation. And if you did that on the average wage, you'd be eating 2-minute noodles for 32 years before you get enough money to get a deposit for the average farm in Australia. And we think that's pathetic, and that's not going to inspire many people to follow their farming journey. And we know there's heaps of solutions to rectify that. And then from a retiring farmer point of view, I think most people think there's only a handful of options for what they can do with their farm. And they think it's either you die on it, your kids get it, or you sell it. And we're saying, no, there's plenty of more options out there. And the other lesson we're learning with the retiring farmers is that they just don't want anybody to walk up and take this farm, or they hate the idea that the next generation farmer isn't good enough, or they're not going to love it as much as they do. And we want to say again, focus on what we're doing, which is on relationships, and we will not support any match that doesn't align, get two people together or a group of people together who have the same values. We're all about matching people who get along, so that when you wake up in the middle of the night and think, what have I done? You're very confident that you've picked someone that you're happy to work with and maybe share ownership with. So us as Cultivate Farms, what's our mission? We're all about breaking down barriers, and most of those are mental barriers that for young people that they can own a farm, so it's worth sticking at it. And for retiring farmers, that there are many options out there to realise the vision for your farm. And even breaking down barriers for investors, we're trying to get locals to unlock their money, get it out of the share market, invest into local farms. Just trying to get people to break down that mental barrier around farm ownership, because we think if we can do that, we can get to our long-term vision, which is rejuvenating farming communities across Australia. Myself and the co-founders Tim and Tegan Hicks, who are these people on the screen at the moment, and their 4 kids, we're the founders, and we're all from the bush, and we want to get young people back to communities, and we want to keep retiring farmers in the community, and we want the footy clubs full, and we want the netball clubs, and we want communities thriving. And we reckon we've got something here around ownership, that if we can show it's possible to own farms, thousands of people will be coming back, because that is this underlying driver for most people, is they want to own a farm. And that means different things to different people, but ownership is so key. And at the moment there's no hope, and we're saying, no, there is hope, and let's start reversing the trend. So now I want to throw at you a number of examples of matches we've made, just to give you ideas, and I'll also, at the end of it, just talk about some questions you can ask yourself as a farmer wanting to potentially step back or get someone on board. Just some questions to help you understand what it is you want, and then I'll wrap up and we can do some questions. So this farm is 3,500 acres in central Victoria. So my grade 3 teacher is Judy Hocking, and she's been following my journey on this business, and one day she rang me up and said, Sam, I've just lost our employee, and Charlie and I are never going to leave this farm. Our kids don't want it, but we want to be matched with a farmer, and how about it? And so they've got 3,500 acres in central Victoria. It's a great operation. And we put a call out and we found a farmer for them. And now they're off working through a farm ownership transition model, which is a bit of a 12-month get-to-know-you phase. And then, and I don't know all the details in this one because they're fine working it through, but some sort of equity arrangement where the young farmer is going to be earning their way in over time. But now this young farmer has, I think it's something like a $10 million farm they're going to be earning their way into, which is just ridiculous. And that's all through matching, it's just through relationships and that young farmer being out there showing that they love farming and then being there at the right time to see this promotion on Facebook and they're on their farm. It's the options we're providing here are amazing. The next is Hazelbrae. So in Tassie, you might have heard of them. They're winning lots of awards, a hazelnut farm. And they're a young couple, actually. And they came to us and said, look, we're good at scheming and doing lots of business ideas, and we've got a few other business ideas, and we love Hazelbrae. We don't want to step back completely, but we want to get a farmer to co-farm with us and set up a share farm arrangement. And we said, fantastic, this is great. This is the way we want people to think about this, is how do you scale up your operation by getting a Top Gun farmer to farm alongside you. So we put a call out, and a couple applied, and now they're setting up their share farming arrangement, and they're very happy, which is really exciting. Then this farm is interesting. I just got an email from the vendor the other day. So there's a couple who have just 60 acres, so it's not a massive farm. They've got a bit of timber and some cattle. And we did match them with a young couple. And then over the last 6 months, they've been trying to figure out how a model could work. This one isn't a viable operation in and of itself, so they require some off-farm income. And so this couple moved out from Melbourne, lived on a house nearby. But recently they realised it didn't work. The match just wasn't going to work. Either I haven't unpacked fully, but they either didn't match in their values, or they couldn't see how it could work financially. So now we're putting the call out for another farmer. But I guess this is to show you that we are so much focused on relationships. So they hadn't signed anything formally. They knew they would be very soon, but it was a getting to know you period, and they worked on the farm and got to know each other, but it just didn't work, and that's fine. And now they're off finding another match. And that's, again, the service we're going to provide is we'll help find your match, and if that doesn't work, we'll go again until you do find the right people that you're happy to transition ownership to. And we have 24 farms across Australia right now, with retiring farmers wanting to step back and back a Top Gun farmer. And we have a stack in Tassie, actually. So please do check it out, just to get your eye in for what people are thinking about in terms of farm ownership. But all these farmers don't know exactly what the arrangement might be with a farmer, but they know they're happy to share ownership and they want to step back. And we're here to help find that farmer, and then also nurse them through discussions with their advisors, lawyers, accountants, etc., on how a transition could work. But just they've all gone through that phase of, all right, I want to step back. I don't want to completely move away from this farm. I want to stay involved. Find me some farmers. I'll see if we can get along with them, and then let's work out an arrangement. So please check that out, and tell everyone you know about what we're doing, because we need more matches to get more people to think about this, and we can go a long way to getting more people on farms. Some aspiring farmer examples. One, probably the highlight that I've just focused for today, is a free-range pig farm in central Victoria. We did what we think is a world first program, where we got 13 farmers to pull a farm investment proposal together across Australia, and we sat down with an investor one day and went through all of them, and this investor backed the best farm, which is this freeland pork farm in central Victoria. And this is Mark and their youngest daughter Heidi on the farm, and they've been farming now for a year with an investor. So they co-own the farm together, and everyone loves the partnership and arrangement. It's really exciting. The investor feels like they have backed a great entrepreneurial couple, and the farmers are on a farm that they are earning their way into owning 50% of the land. They already own 50% of the business, and we can talk about the arrangements later. But now they've got a target to own and build their wealth over time. And once they hit that target, they'll probably go again and buy another farm together. But it's a really, really exciting opportunity. And we're doing this again, actually, getting farmers to pitch next year to this investor. And there are thousands ready. We've got 800 members on our database, thousands of conversations I've had and the team have had over the last few years, that we understand what it is a young farmer wants, and also what retiring farmers are after. It's now just get the word out, find more farms, and get more matches happening to prove this is possible. So I just want to let you know just different arrangements, and these are just a few. I've got a blog post describing this, but just wanted to say there's so many different arrangements out there on how your ownership transition could occur. There's leasing, obviously, share farming, lease to buy, there's vendor finance, like the collaborative farming, or equity arrangements. And each of those have so many variations within them all. I think, again, the main point is if you're willing to share ownership, there are so many young people out there who would love that and are happy to work knowing that there's that carrot at the end for them to go for, which is ownership. And it's not even only 100% of it, it's just having some form of ownership is so key for them. So some lessons we're finding is if you are thinking about transitioning, get in as early as you can because it takes time to find the right person. We've had some farms up there for 2 years and others that have been up there for a month and been matched. So you never know how long it takes to find the right person because it's all about trust. So please get out there and start thinking about who you might want to partner with as early as you can. And we do believe offering a carrot of ownership is key. So that might not be fine, might not be an outcome for many of you, and that's fine as well, but we're just realising this ownership is a big carrot and can help unlock some really great people. If you can't offer ownership, it still would be a great carrot if you're offering them to get involved in the business somehow, but we're just realising that ownership is such a key thing. And then finally, finding your farm vision. Just some questions that we give to our retiring farmers for them when they contact us. We go, this is great that you're keen on this, but please just take more time, take a week or two or however long you need, and just go through these questions just so you're confident this is really what you want, and just so you're confident you've had a conversation between yourselves if you're a couple, that you're both on the same page with what you want for this farm. Because we get it. Farms are an emotional thing and a full-on thing, and your life and your business and just your family are so intertwined. So we're going to make sure people are fully aware of what they're doing and happy with it. So we get people to think about how much do you want to own of the farm? Do you want to own 100% of the land forever? Or you want your family to? You're happy to share ownership of the business? Or you're happy for the farm to be bought out over time or straight away? We don't care. It's just knowing that is so key. Do you want to hand it to your kids? So you might have kids that don't want it, but they want to have ownership. So you can set up entity arrangements where the new farmer has some ownership and so do your kids, and your kids have first right to buy it back. There's all these creative things you can do which still offers ownership to all parties. What are your timelines for your ongoing involvement? Do you want to be out in 2 years, 5 years, never? Just understanding that. Do you want to continue to farm? Do you want to be employed back as a farm worker or be involved in the day-to-day? Or just sit on the board, or how do you want to be involved in the farming operation? How often do you want to visit? Do you want to stay on the property houses on the property, or do you want to just move into town? And do you just want to come back on weekends, or once a month, or once every 6 months, or never again? Just understanding how often you want to be involved is key as well. Knowing what you're nervous about. So, are you afraid that some young punk's going to come in and destroy your farm? Knowing what you're nervous about, I think is very key, and just making sure working backwards from that. And then lastly, have you got any financial pressures on you, i.e. you need to pay off the bank, or you've got family who need the money, or you want to put a nest egg aside, whatever it is, just knowing your finances so that when a farmer does come to you, say, hey, I need X amount of dollars up front, even for this to start, or no, I don't need any, I'm happy for earning, just as long as I get X amount of dollars a year out of this, or whatever that arrangement might be. But they're the 7 key questions we get people to work through, and I think once you work through them, you have a pretty good understanding of whether this is something you want to pursue, and also helps you get your eye in on what sort of farmer you're after. So that's it. I hope that is clear enough, probably a bit vague, but that's the nutshell of what we're doing. It's all about relationships and helping people to share and co-own farms together.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I might just get you to go, back to your video, Sam, and then we can do some Q&A.
Right.
Rightio. Now, I'll repeat any questions if you can't quite hear them over the mic, mate.
Yep.
All right.
I'll start with banks. Where do the banks fit into this?
Did you get that?
Yep, banks.
Oh, good. You can hear that. That's great.
I could hear it.
Okay.
They sit just on the side. again, they'll come in and provide debt to whoever and whenever. But the first thing is making sure you get a relationship. So if it's the young farmer has $500,000 to put in and there's $500,000 left, you either go find bank debt or get an investor in to mop it up. But we're finding bank debt is the best form of investment you can get. So they'll deal on a case by case basis for any opportunity. But it's the same requirement that they have all the time, which is half the money needs to be brought in from elsewhere. Questions probably around vendor finance and who has first mortgage. Banks always want first mortgage, which is a risk for vendors. But there can be some creative solutions around that where you vendor finance half the titles and do bank debt for the other half, or you can just get creative. Just knowing what's possible and what's not is the main thing from the banks and then the parties coming together.
I've got a question. One of the challenges for smaller farms is being profitable. So as soon as you bring an investor in, there's 3 parties in there that have all got to make a living or part of their living out of it. So does that investor model, in reality, are you finding that really only applies to either really good operations or bigger farms?
Yes and no. When we first started this, we thought investors will want 10% plus returns and they'll want to make sure it's 100% reliable. And then we realised, who knows why people want to invest? So, we've got an investor who just wants to go there on weekends and doesn't want to return, just doesn't want to lose money. There's people who land bank, who it's so interesting to see why people hand over money. And we're not in the business of putting a no in people's mouths, I guess. We put it out there and just see who wants to have a crack at it. Obviously, we want to support farm operations that are viable, and we wouldn't put an investment opportunity up there that we didn't think was viable or matched with people. But again, it's just on a case-by-case basis. I think not having an investor is a good thing. If you can do it just between yourselves and the bank, that's probably the best outcome. But we are really, really passionate. I've just put a call out through a volunteer website trying to get an expert in finance to help us unlock this concept of a Bendigo bank for locals investing into local farms. How do you unlock locals to invest? And maybe locals are happy to take a 2%, 3% lease or whatever it is, knowing that they're going to bring young people back to their community. And we're just trying to get people to think more creatively. We're doing equity crowdfunding at the moment on a farm in Scottsdale, which will be the second ever equity crowdfunded farm in Australia. So investors for $2,500 can own part of this farm, the land, and they get a 5% return plus the capital gains over time. So our biggest issue is just trying to get as many ideas happening around how you can invest and who can invest, and then we just put it out there and get people thinking and going. We had a lady call the other day. She goes, I've seen what you're doing and I really want to invest into a farm, but I don't know how. Can you help us? And he's like, wow, we want more of those people. And they're sitting around the country wanting opportunities and they just don't know what to do. And we're just got to keep pulling opportunities together, and you never know what's going to come around the corner.
Can you just tell us a bit about the governance structure with that Scottsdale one?
Yeah, so it's with an organisation called Domicom. They've got a financial arrangement which they've been working with ASIC on, of which they can crowdfund any land purchase. So they've done 50 residential properties. So they set up a structure where anyone can invest money at $2,500 minimum, and then they administer that fund. That entity then leases the land out to the leasee, so the farmer. So the retiring farmer is going to stay on. They're selling half of the farm, retaining half of it, and then we're going to bring a young couple on to farm with them, and they've just got to pay a 5% lease as their requirements as the farmers.
Wow. So I don't know if I quite get it. So we're in the position of, we're the ageing farmers and we've leased now to a bunch of young farmers. But looking to the future, if we want to find a way of transferring ownership to them, we need to be able to potential, like that's our retirement fund, like that's our retirement money is all tied up in the farm. And so we would have to come up with a model that yields us at least a chunk of capital if we weren't going to live there anymore, because we've got to be able to buy somewhere else.
Yep.
So that model you just described, would that do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's probably half a dozen other models as well. So the main thing would be how much is a house in town?
Yeah.
Is probably number one. Okay, and how much do you need to live on? How confident are you in the returns every year, and whether you want that as if you stay on as part equity owner, how much do you need every year to live if the worst comes to the worst and you can't find other employment or other money coming in? So they're probably the two biggest things: is how much do you need up front, how much do you need ongoing, and then third is, can this farm actually do it, and would these young farmers be able to pay it off over time? And if they can't do it themselves, you'd then be going, and they can't earn in or over time, you go, well, let's go raise capital elsewhere. And then the question is, do you go equity crowdfunding? Do you go for a debt? Do you go to an investor? Do you talk to someone local who has money in the bank? But again, all those questions are still going to be, what rate? What can the farm earn? Is it running well enough to be able to pay back a basic mortgage? And sometimes the answer is no, and I think that's fine. And maybe part of the model is you run the farm and someone has to have off-farm income, and there's no correct, or there's no. I don't think you have to be proud that the farm it doesn't support in and of itself. It's just, again, find the right people who go. The wife might be the farmer, and the husband goes and has an online job somewhere and brings in money and makes it all viable. It doesn't. Again, we don't really care, and we don't put the no in people's mouths. It's just, what do you want, and let's try and find the right people. And it sounds like you've already got the right people, which is 90% of the work is finding those people that you trust that can run the farm and know how to run the farm. Then it's just a conversation around the kitchen table of, here's what we're thinking, here's what we need. Let's spend the next few months unpacking how this could unfold.
And so, Sam, in light of what you were saying about there being investors prepared to perhaps accept lower rates of return, in light of that, why do you say that the banks are still the best option? It is still your best option for finance.
If they are the best, if you have some equity already, that's probably the caveat. They'll obviously want 40% deposit, whether that's you owning part of the land already or cash. But it's just that there's so many banks out there already who do this conversation every single day. And you can call them up and give them a spreadsheet and they'll go yes or no within half an hour. Versus an investor where you've got to go do due diligence, pull a presentation together, let them know about yourself and give them confidence that you are very good. It takes probably 6 months to pull all that together, and time and energy, versus a phone call to the bank who do it every day. It's just an investor doesn't require you to have equity, I guess, but the banks do. So it's just, again, just the horses for courses. But the more you can go to a bank, the better, I think.
And what are you seeing in terms of interest rates from banks at the moment? I mean, you got any idea on that? I mean, I'm not familiar with where they're sitting post the recent round of cuts.
Yeah, I think it's all about relationships. The more you know the bankers, the more that you're able to pull some deals together. But I'm assuming around 4, 5, 6, 7%, just depending again on the operation and how confident they are in you and how well they know you and your business history, I guess.
And how much equity you start off with as well.
Exactly. Yep.
Very interesting. Sounds like there's still lots of questions being asked. Have you got many sort of solid examples yet? Because it's always easier if you can just do what somebody else has already done that worked. Do you feel like there's, that you're starting to actually get some matches on the board where people have thought through all these and put something in place and it's actually solid and has worked?
Yeah, so they're definitely solid examples. But I think we'll never have a cookie cutter solution for every farm. That's the frustration for us. I think we've been wanting just to go, here are the 6 models and here you go, or the one model. But we just realised everyone is just so different and has, have quirky little family history issues that they've got to deal with, and which is great. But we've realised we just need to have all these different options around us so that we can pull this one together to make it work. So for the investor one, maybe that's a good example with the young farmers. So there's two entities. One's Freeland Pork, and one is the farm entity. And the Freeland Pork pays a lease to the landowners. The business entity is a 50-50 entity, shareholders. So Freeland Pork, the young couple own 50%, and that was from their current infrastructure and pigs they had already and their goodwill. And the investor chucked in an equivalent amount of money to own half the business. So that's a 50-50 business running at the moment, which pays the lease back to the landowner, and the investor actually owns 100% of the land. They've got an option agreement written for that land, which says Freeland Pork have the first right to buy this land back at a certain rate every year, so the investor gets they're going to get a return. And so the aim of this young couple is to make the farm viable, put money into a savings account, and buy it back in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time. And that'll end up, if you're following, it means it'll be a 50-50 ownership of the land and a 50-50 ownership of the business. And that's a win-win for both parties. And then they'll go off and they'll probably buy more land together, or who knows what they do
So
together.
is the original farmer, or the investor bought the farm?
Investors, independent, we brought the investor in, and they just purchased the land like they bought other land before.
Yeah, I like that option agreement plan with a preset amount each year. So like that investor knows that like if they come to me with a check this year, this is my return. And if they don't come with me for a check this year, they come next year. Well, I'm going to be making a return. Otherwise, it's that's and it's great for the farmers too, because they know, well, this is how much we've got to save up. This is our target of what we've got to buy, our buy-in. Interesting, a really interesting structure. I really like that.
Yeah, and that took a while, and that was the investor coming up with that. We had 3 meetings. We met in the Kyabram, one of the Kyabram cafes a few times, and everyone was going, how can this work? And it's just this investor is just a really good person who's done crazy cool deals before, and he just said, I was thinking one night, what if we did this? And everyone said, yeah, that sounds great. And we had a bit of time. We got lawyers to work it through and make sure it was all legitimate. So everyone feels comfortable. But again, it's just this case by case. That might be a model that we do ongoing. I know this arrangement of 2 entities is getting more and more common, especially in the dairy industry, and I think it should be anywhere, is that you have this land and business operation, especially for handing the farms on to the next generation of your own family. It's great. You can give some ownership into the business to your kids, and that slowly builds up over time, and you slowly start buying into the land or more into the business. But that sort of 2 entity structure seems like a good operation, a good delineation to make.
Certainly in New Zealand, share farming and dairy industry is very interesting. The way that banks come on board, there's a lot of farmers there that don't own property, but they might have dairy with a herd, don't own machinery. And Australia's been really slow on the uptake of some of what the Kiwis have done. Have you seen other countries that are very innovative in this principle, as far as a bit more creative in their thinking in transition to farms?
No, it's really. I was going to say depressing. Maybe it is, but it feels like and I don't want to blow my own horn, but it feels like what we're doing is really unique. So we're talking to a guy in US who has his farm land trust, but they're all about buying land and getting a really low return for investors and leasing it to landholders. So no ownership, and they've got a number of those sort of trusts out there. And there's Terre de Lion in France that again do that same thing, trying to get investors to take a low return to lease out to landholders. So they have sort of very structured solutions, like this one size has to fit all, but no one's focused on this. Just get people together and help them to scheme on a solution for themselves. So I don't know why the ag industry hasn't thought about creative solutions like New Zealand are. Like, I don't know why dairy has to own the word share farming. Like, there's no reason why all these creative solutions can't be applied everywhere at any stage. And it's not like we're inventing new models here. Like, vendor finance was the common thing back in the early 1900s, I understand, or even 1800, or maybe for all of history, until banks got their head around it. So we're not trying to create anything new here. We're just trying to get people to think about what it is they really want, and then work back with some friends and family and clever people on what's a good structure to make it happen. So I guess that's our job, is to try and get people thinking and be annoying with our content online and just tell people it's possible, until we get more opportunities coming and more case studies. But we're confident next 10, 20, 30 years that people will get this, and they won't straight away think that they have to sell their farm. They'll go, yeah, we know there's heaps of options. We've been headhunting the right farmer for the last 20 years. We think we've got them, and we're just enacting the transition model now.
Beautiful. Well, I think we might use that technology failure as a time to wind up, Sam. Thanks so much for your time. It's actually time for us to go for lunch. Thanks for that. Everyone, just give Sam a... Thanks, mate. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll chat again soon and get a copy of that.
Do you want to just give him a minute to tell how his model works?
Yes. Yes. Do you want to just explain a little bit about how Cultivate Farms model works? People sort of signing up for memberships and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you can be a free aspiring farmer, or you can pay $150 a year. And then for retiring farmers, we charge a matchmaking fee, which is $4,000 a match. But we are completely open to adjusting that figure because we just want more matches. But we're just trying to figure out how to make money out of this so we can keep the doors open, and I can live for another year probably. Is what I've calculated. So we'll just keep the doors open until we make this work.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
All right, mate. We'll chat soon, eh?
Cheers, Matthew. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for your attention and for watching this video. Click here or somewhere to watch more of our videos. If you're new here, please do subscribe. We want more of your attention. We want to get you inspired to get onto your farm. Let's get you farming.